Sheri.
Hi. Hi, Jeannie. And I think we have Jackie on there also. Hi. Good morning.
Hi. Are you ready? Not yet.
I'm ready. I know we've got a few other people joining us today.
Wow.
So how's it been going this week, everybody?
Good. I finished some pictures. I didn't send them, but I'll show them to you if you want. Can you see them?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I can't see anyone at the moment, so you may have to turn on your video.
Okay. Hang on. Is it not on? How do you get the video? Hang on. I am so bad at this, Sheri.
That's okay. It's not that hard when, you get used to it, but it takes a little bit.
Start video. Hang on. Oh, there.
There's Jackie. Okay.
That was the first one.
Oh, very nice. Mm-hmm.
Then I did this one.
Okay. I like that one too. Different background.
Yeah, and then I did this one with different flowers.
I like them all.
I'm bored. I need to paint.
Oh, you obviously love flowers.
I do.
You've already done our still life for today.
Yeah, but I need a bigger pot. It's kind of wonky, so
yeah.
I'm starting another one.
Okay. Well, you can. A lot of times I do the same painting like 4 and 5 times, and I know a lot of my artist friends do too. Jeannie, who's on here, she's famously done some of her larger paintings again in miniature because she really likes working in miniature. But if you got something you really like and maybe you didn't feel like you got it right the first time, or you just love it, you want to do it again, it's perfectly fine. Good morning.
Okay.
I thought we'd maybe talk a little bit. There's Judy. Hi. Yeah, I thought I downloaded an article. We had one of our participants last week say they were struggling with composition. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about composition because I can review that all the time. So
I gotta let my dog out. I'll be back.
Okay. Okay, it's exactly 10 o'clock. Hopefully we'll pick up some more people. I don't know if Jim was coming this week, and I don't know about Tim. And we got a few others. Let's see, Allison and maybe Kathy will be joining us, so we'll see. I know Barry is not joining us today. She said she wasn't done with last week's. So, and she's out of Canvas, so she's going to pick us up again next week, I think.
Okay.
But anyway, I downloaded this article, which is probably to you, about, creating steps to a better composition.
Okay.
So let's see. I'm going to go into the chat, and I'm going to post a link to this article I'm talking about.
Okay.
In case any of you want to download this. There you go. Good morning, Jeannie. I see you. But anyway, that's the article I have here. And I think we can always view our composition fundamentals periodically to get better painting. I think one of the things we tend to do, especially when we're beginning, is to have in a still life everything floating in the middle of the page.
Yes.
We want to paint the background. We don't like the background. It's boring. We really need to get to the meat and potatoes of our work. And one of my early teachers told me, "Oh, your painting is floating. It doesn't work."
Floating.
It's just fine. It's artistically cool to have things floating in the middle of the page, but it really is when you get the hang of it and you work with your backgrounds more, it really adds a lot to your painting when it all works together. So, I always she always told us to fill up the page, and that's true. Fill up whatever area you're working on. And it doesn't need to be your full page. It could be an area that you've blocked off on your page to work in. If you're working with a bigger sheet and you don't want to work that big, you can always, in watercolor especially, cut down your sheets. Let's see. Oh, that's a message from you, Jeannie, and you're already here. But anyway, try to fill up your page. Even if you don't especially like your background, give it a try, or even substitute another background. If you find something in another scene, another painting that you want to drop into your own, feel free, you know, to substitute. There's Allison. Good morning.
Sheri, I think your music is interfering with your talk a little bit.
Okay, we'll turn that down. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Does that work? Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Point number 3 in this article I was reading is also true, to create your own crop. Whether you're doing landscapes or still lifes, you don't have to paint everything you see. And sometimes, and a lot of times I found it's really detrimental to paint everything you see. So use your smartphone, use a viewfinder to, you know, pick out part of your scene that you really want to paint, because that can make it a lot more interesting. Also, your compositions can be more interesting if things tend to go off the page. You know, not everything is in the center. Make it off center. Have an odd number of items in your still life. Don't put everything in the center all the time, because what's going to make it interesting is when, you know, things are a little off. You're leading the viewer's eye to different places around your painting when you do that. So think about cropping what you see. You don't have to paint the still life that I arranged for you. You can just paint part of that if you want, and, you know, crop that picture to any composition that suits you, that you think works. Oh, this is already talked about, balancing positive and negative space. Your positive space, in the example I've got here, your positive space is the items in your still life. Your negative space is the stuff behind it, okay? And in this particular still life, I arranged this for the class I was teaching up in Salem. And you can see part of the studio in the background. So feel free to, like, you don't have to include all the stuff that you see if you just want to include, you know, the drapery in here. That's up to you. If you want to include a little background, that's fine too. But yeah, use your positive space, and then also think about your background, your negative space, because that's what's going to make you an excellent painting. Contrast, we talk about this all the time. Values, more than color, are what's going to make your painting pop. So your dark darks, your light lights, that's what you're going for. And finally, this author talks about simplifying distracting elements. Again, like I talked about, these fish in the background may be distracting to the rest of your still life, so you may want to simplify those out. And, you know, make that, you may just want to include the table in the background, or you may just want to make that a dark space in your painting, whatever you decide. But yeah, sometimes too many things or too many items or whatever it is can make your painting too cluttered. So feel free to simplify any elements you find are distracting. Okay, that's the end of my lecture today, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I don't know if you're all working off of the still life that I posted or one of your own. But
I started something over the weekend, so I thought I would finish it, and it's just a little landscape.
Oh, very, very nice, Judy.
And it's also a good photo. I'm going to put that little guy in there fishing.
Is that from Beaver Creek, or is that from somewhere else?
No, it's actually from Zepernick Lake, which is out between Lisbon and Hanoverton.
Oh, okay.
And Tom and I used to go out there hiking because there's a couple of trails. And so one day we were out there and I saw this guy, and I just thought it was a cool picture.
It is very nice, yeah.
So I thought I would paint that little man and see how it turns out.
Oh, good luck. Yay.
Yes. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Tim.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
You missed my little lecture on compositions, Tim. But I posted in the group chat a link to the article I was talking about if you want to study up a little more on composition.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to get started painting. I don't know what you're working from today. I'm going to work from the still life that I posted.
Okay.
All right, let's get started.
My niece texted me yesterday that the Museum of Modern Art is doing free tutorials.
Yes, I signed up for one.
Did you?
Yeah, there's neat ones. I originally signed up for just an overview, some kind of overview of art, and then actually from Coursera, Coursera. Or, I got a course from Yale about cathedrals.
Oh,
The art
wow.
of cathedrals and the history of cathedrals. So I think I might go with that one for the time being, but there are so many learning opportunities out there for free. So if you got the time and the energy, it's great.
Great.
By the way, I enjoyed yesterday's church service.
Oh, did you like it?
Yes.
I had a little trouble. I was the usher letting people in, and it took me a while to realize that people come in even when it's half over.
Yes.
But I thought it turned out pretty well.
It really did. I enjoyed it.
Good.
Yeah, Longs Run Trinity here in Calcutta just started putting their services on Zoom, and I watched for the first time yesterday, and it was very nice.
What we did was we did it at 10:30 and taped it and then put it
Right.
online. Yeah.
That's nice.
So I'm glad you got to do it.
I did.
I think it's really nice to have something very specific like this to look forward to in this time of isolation.
I do too. Very much.
It helps you keep track of the days.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to
Yeah.
remember Monday, yes.
What day is it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, come on, Ginger, come on.
Well, it keeps you painting too. If you have a specific time that you're supposed to set up and be ready, then
Yeah.
I think you're going to do a lot better.
I think so too.
Judy, you may know this. Are any of the local like track facilities open for people to walk or anything?
Uh,
You can probably go to Beaver Local.
I'm sorry?
I said you can probably go over to Beaver Local and walk over at that track.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I know I saw on the news that Boardman had theirs open as they usually do for the public, and then they had to close it because people were not playing by the rules.
right.
So I didn't know if our local facilities were open or not.
I know over at Beaver Local, they have all the hurdles laying around, so that you know they're not going to have any track meet.
No.
That's good to know because the places I usually walk, like the Y, Thompson Park, and the cemetery, are all closed.
All closed, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Columbiana County Memorial Park's still open if you need to walk. You want to walk there.
Actually, I was looking for a place to run, but
Now, is that the cemetery with the big cross, Tim?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, good to know. And I've been going out to Beaver Creek and walking the trails.
Mhm.
yeah, I didn't know if people were going out there or not because I saw on their website they're open, but they're discouraging people for coming there to Beaver Creek. So I'm like, okay, are you open or not?
When I've gone, there have been very few people there, which is one of the reasons I'm comfortable going there.
Yeah.
Not the safest places to walk on your own streets around the neighborhood or walk around your basement.
Yeah.
Because like you
Yeah.
said, other people don't play by the rules.
No,
They don't.
And I don't think they realize how serious this is. Crazy. And you all are probably like me, you never get bored. I don't think artists get bored. Because even when we're not painting, even if we're not painting, we have a lot of cleaning to do because
Oh,
we're
yes.
always painting.
Oh, yes.
Actually cleaned out my art supply cupboards the other day.
Oh,
Oh,
goodness.
good for you. Ah.
You say, hey, I didn't know I had this. I found an acrylic paint pen that I don't even remember buying.
I love it.
And then in the kitchen, I cleaned out my kitchen cupboards and wondered who in the world decided we needed so many cupboards years ago. I found a jar opener I didn't know I had. I said,
Wow.
oh, and I used it since.
Ah,
I know.
good for you.
But I'm not touching that china. But I'm not touching that china closet. I don't even care. No, I'm not doing that. There is stuff in there I use once a year,
Right.
maybe. Big platters and fancy dishes, and I'm thinking, you know, I'll just let my girls go through that
That's it.
someday.
Leave it for them.
Yeah.
Can I call on your expertise?
Yeah.
We're
Sure.
doing a lot of folds. There are folds in our fabric. Can you give your little discussion that we talked about in
Right.
Chris Leeper's class about painting drapery?
Okay. The first thing I do when I do still life, or actually almost all my paintings, is I start out with the dark first. I use a combination of burnt umber and ultramarine blue. And you mix that together and it makes almost a black, or you can use black if you want. But I paint in all the dark areas. Even when I sketch, I will make scribble marks where that's where the dark is supposed to be. Then after you do that, you can go back and start adding the medium colors, and you just sort of feather. I don't know if you've ever feathered on your walls when you're painting in the house, but it's kind of like that, only just a lot smaller. But you just keep working at it, and you'll put in the color of the cloth, and don't worry about lights until the very last, you know, the highlight part. And you
Unless
just
you're
have to
working in
keep
watercolor.
working. And you just have to, I couldn't tell you about watercolor.
Yeah, he doesn't work in watercolor.
I did do 4 things recently in acrylics though, Sheri.
Mhm.
So I think I sent you pictures of those, but
Yes, you did. You're doing excellent work.
thank you. I like my wolf the best.
You're doing targets? You've been painting targets? Mhm.
18th century painted targets, yes.
Neat. And those are used by, what's the name of the group you're involved in?
Well, there's Kill 'em Buck Long Rifles in Holmes County, and then we have our Ivory Mountain group that meets there, and then we have Ohio Valley Club, and there's one more. Oh, Kill Buck again in the fall. And
Wow.
they'll paint really pretty. What they did in the 18th century, the targets were always round, and they would paint a nice picture, and then there would be one little pointed target, maybe a red heart or something. They never ruin the picture. They're all good shots, and it's
Oh,
fun to
good.
do.
Mm-hmm.
But working with cloth, you just have to keep going back over and just keep working it and feathering it, and it'll come.
You talked about the need for really working the shading, like a lot of different tones, using
Yes.
not just 1 or 2, but like 50, 50 shades of gray. You know?
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you squint your eyes, and then you can see there's different tones. Or like me, all I have to do is just take my glasses off and then everything is fuzzy, so that works. If I just work over my glasses.
That's a great idea.
I'm doing your photos, Sheri, but I'm doing it in kind of a miniature. I'm doing it in a 4x6.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting ready to put, oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I spent yesterday trying to get some things laid out for miniatures.
Mm-hmm.
Although I've had like, I think 5 shows that have been canceled or rescheduled.
Wow.
Oh.
And so much stuff is being canceled. It's just such a shame.
There's 2 of mine though that are online yet. They put them online early, and the show for the one in Nags Head doesn't open until May. I don't know if they will or not now. And the other one was rescheduled for the Oil Painters of America for October, but it's online too though. You can go and look at what's there if you really want to see some amazing stuff.
I didn't realize that one had been postponed also, but yeah, just about everything is.
Yeah.
So.
Because that one was in Texas.
Okay, here's a demonstration. I'm using my really tiny palette today, but I wanted it dark. I'm going to start putting the darks into my painting. So I mixed the dark out of some blue, red, and yellow. I'm going to go ahead and drop some of those in because I see dark along the side of this bottle. And again, if you're working in watercolor, you want to be careful about your darks because you can always go darker in watercolor, but you can't go lighter.
It's kind of the opposite of what I'm doing, right?
Yes. So be careful. See some dark here. Got a shadow underneath my plate. Just go ahead and put that in.
Is it time for your thing? Oh, I know.
So Jackie, how's your husband doing without his golf, or is he golfing? Oh, she stepped away.
If I wanted to mix paints to get a flesh color to do my little fisherman's hand, I'm guessing red, white, and brown.
Jeannie, can you weigh in on that one? You do a lot more portraits.
Yeah, it's white and some yellow and a little touch, the very tiniest touch of red. If you put too much red, it'll turn pink on you.
Thank you.
Sometimes you can just take burnt sienna with a little bit of white, but there's several ways to get that. It's hard to always get the same color when you do the mixture but I have found like an off-white titanium buff. You can also work in with that.
Yeah,
But
thank you.
if the three colors don't work, try the burnt sienna and white a little bit.
Yeah, I think you were pretty much on spot there, Judy. That's probably what I'd try. Have you ever just tried you can buy a flesh toned,
And it's usually not what
it's usually not right.
but
Yeah,
you can adjust it.
I just
But
don't.
no,
happen to
what you
have
do
that.
is you just add something to it to make it the shade you need. Very seldom do we paint out of the tube anyway, so
Right.
yeah, I would
Judy,
just.
I'd probably, you know how we've talked about trying the paint out on another sheet or,
Right.
and just seeing if when you put it on the paper, is it the color you're looking for or not, and experiment from there. Because you don't
That's a
want to
great
put it
idea.
on and then have it be something you don't like, especially if you're working in watercolor. Because and you
Mhm.
can lift it off, but it's you want to get it right the first time, I think, anyway.
Right.
And what you can do is a skin tone is not the same all over on a face anyway, but you can start out with your mixture and then you can add more sienna or something, and then you add on. You can make like 3 different shades of it.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
One thing I forgot to put in my painting is there's a nice reflection of the oranges on this copper ball, so I'm going to try to get that in. I always think those are intimidating to do, aren't they?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
You just
It's almost
sketch them.
darker than the orange. Yeah.
It really is. Well, you guys can't see it today. I was working in oil paints yesterday, and I have a giant streak of like a very bright blue in my hair. Today, this morning, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to like take terpenoid or whatever and try to get that out.
Well, you
My
really
granddaughter
can.
does that on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good size streak. That's one of the reasons I a lot of times do not leave my hair down when I'm painting, because that's what happens.
I thought about you. I thought about you and Sheri with your cats.
Oh, yeah.
We have a Youngstown station that we listen to, and Dan Martin has 4 animals, and he's been, of course, broadcasting from home.
Yes.
And this one cat has gotten to be really popular with the audience.
Oh,
He sits on the windowsill beside Dan, and it's funny.
Of the cleaning, so I'll call you back.
well, I think everybody's pets, you know, of on all the national shows are going on public display. You know.
Oh, I know everybody's pets are so happy.
Yeah,
But they're home, yes.
they're all on national TV.
You want their time too.
Exactly. Yeah, my cat doesn't. Really, he doesn't really like people.
Oh,
Now, I was asking about the tracks that are open, Tim, because I got an email saying that they're having virtual track meets now, in addition to the virtual 5Ks, 10Ks, and marathons.
Okay, I noticed the virtual 5Ks, but not the track meets.
Yeah, I got a thing from athletic.net, and they were talking about that. I'm like, oh, how cool.
How would you measure that?
Well, that's the thing. You almost have to be on a track to do it. And you time yourself, and then you send in your time.
Aha.
Getting some sort of a message. We've got about 7 minutes left, it's telling me. So if we get cut off and I'm not paying attention, don't forget to send me what you're doing so that we can share that.
Sheri, just FYI,
Mhm.
Ian told me that the church purchased the unlimited time for Zoom,
Uh-huh.
and it is $15 a month.
It is. Mm-hmm.
You might have already known that, but
Yeah. If we continue, that's something I'll consider.
I think we would be glad to pay a fee if you, I would be anyway. I shouldn't say we, but we decided to do that.
That's
I-
fine.
Definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to see how things went for a few weeks and, you know, how
Sure.
long we're going to be doing this. But if it's going to be a long-term thing, I may spring for that. Yeah, because it seems like we just get started. And you
It's
really,
over.
you really do need a couple hours, you know, at least an hour and a half.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I agree.
Oops.
As I'm painting this, I want to be very careful, and we've talked about this in my other classes, but keeping in watercolor your light highlights light. So I didn't mark those off, but I probably will, just to make sure I don't paint over them inadvertently, because it's hard to get those back once we paint them out. So we'll be careful about that.
All right.
Judy, do you know what the format of the Bible study things is going to be like at church? Is that going to be discussion, or is that just a lecture format with the minister?
He does, it's a discussion, definitely a discussion, yeah. And like he does Monday through Friday, and Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday are like just a devotional with a prescribed format and a lot of discussion. And then on Wednesday is the Bible study, and it's definitely a conversation. I've enjoyed doing it.
Oh, good. I'm going to have to sit in one day.
Yeah.
Okay, bye, guys.
Oh,
Hi,
bye,
Jack.
Have a nice
Thank
day.
you.
Be careful. Be safe.
You too. You too. Thanks.
Okay. My screen is telling me we have less than a minute to go. So don't forget to share what you're working on with me. And we will see about upgrading, since this looks like we're going to be in this for the long haul. So no end in sight yet for the time being anyway. So yeah, be sure you share everything, and I will post what when I get mine finished, because this one took a little longer to draw today, so I'm not working as fast as I did, or maybe I just talked more. I don't know.
Okay, thank you, Sheri.
All right, so everybody,
Thank
hang in
you.
there, okay?
Thanks. Be safe.
And I'll keep you updated.
Okay.